Truth Bombers Podcast.
Truth Bombers Podcast.
The group chat turned podcast with your hosts, Russ, Lachie, and BJ.
Here he is.
Russ, how are you, mate?
Boys, good.
You good, Russ?
Yeah, a bit dusty.
Oh, a few Easter Thursday beveraginos after work or what?
There's a couple made.
You right to do the podcast, Russ?
Huh?
Russ is going to be half cut.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'll power through.
All right. Well, maybe get another one in ya, just so you got something to keep you balanced while we go on. Oh, boys, we're all on. Let's get cracking. Episode 15 of the Truth Bombers podcast, where we tell it exactly how we see it. What are we now? Round 5 coming up versus the Freo Dockers. So as usual, we're going to get to the teams, talk through the ins and outs. Boys, how are we feeling? First thoughts coming up against Freo. We'll start with blurry-eyed Russell Wilkes.
I'm a little worried. I'm a little bit worried. That's where I'm at.
Okay, good. Well thought out. Lachie.
I'm very worried, just like you, Russ. The positive I have is that we're playing at Marvel. I think we play that ground quite well. Freo coming over here is a positive for us. But looking through our team, I feel like that we've just got a number of crucial players out, and the players that are filling those roles might not be able to get the job done.
Fair. I'm probably actually a little optimistic. I think last week, as ugly a win as it was, I think it's one of those kind of galvanizing wins, and we'll have a look at the team sheet in a second, but a lot of those blokes who we've been fringe touch and go, really working hard to cement their spot in that team. And if that can carry on, Freo is a team that we've seemed to have the wood over the last couple of years. Last year, they were of all those games we lost by under 2 goals, that was the one that we did win. They're 3-1. I think they're sitting 3rd on the ladder, but really their only good win has for me has been they beat the Giants by 5 goals in a game that was tight and blew out at the end. The Giants have looked pretty ordinary this year, so not really sure how good a win that was. They beat a very depleted Eagles by 9 goals. And they beat the Crows by a point with a very lucky, hand of God, fist kind of back over the line. So if I do the footy math, if they beat the Crows by 1 and we beat the Crows by 3, then we should beat Freo by 2. So I'm pretty optimistic that the mathematics will work out there in our favor.
Lock of the week, Benny.
Well, I'm not quite sure if lock of the week, but there's a few good ones this week, and we'll get to locks of the week when we bring up the footy tips updates. Let me just quickly bring up the team squad. So our ins for this week, we've named Nick Cox coming back, Tom Cutler, who I never ever thought I would be relatively or moderately happy to see written on the ins column for a team sheet, is coming back in. Kane Baldwin gets the call up, and Ben Hobbs again named. So potentially a debutant again, hopefully not like a Wanganeen situation where he is named as that medical sub role and in the end doesn't get on the pitch. We all know how I feel about that. And Will Snelling as our only out at the minute, obviously redone that calf pretty badly. So let's have a look at the lineups and then we can talk through it in a little more detail. Heppel Laverde, who, congratulations, Jaden, just signed a new 3-year deal. I think it was Russ. Was it you on what had even been Tuesday night that you were talking is suddenly becoming one of those players that a few other clubs are starting to sniff around?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So I think he's a really good lock-in. Jake Kelly, who I thought last week played his best game for the club. Nick Hind, Jordan Ridley at centre-half back. So luckily that elbow that he caught from Jake Kelly wasn't too much. No concussion, no standard miss there. And Mason Redmond, who had a ripper last week as well on the other back flank. The mids, Sammy Durham once again named on the wing, well-deserved. Andrew McGrath in the middle. Nick Cox named on the other wing. Our half-forwards, Archie Perkins, Russ's man, Alec Waterman named at centre-half forward with Nick Martin on the other flank. And our full forward line, which is probably one of my favorite full forward lines of all time, probably 3 of my favorite players currently, Andrew Phillips, Peter Wright, and Matt Guelphy named as the full forward line. Big Drapes, Dylan Shield, and Darcy Parish following the ball, and then an extended bench of Jai Caldwell, BZT, Tom Cutler, Devon Smith, Braden Ham, Ben Hobbs, Tex Wanganeen, and Kane Baldwin. Lachie, your first thoughts?
Is it just me, or should Nick Cox not come straight back into the side? Should he play a round of VFL, prove that he's in reasonable form and is recovered from his ankle, and then come into the squad?
I think that's a fair call. Looking at that extended bench, though, like I would much rather see Nick Cox on that wing than Braden Ham. So,
yeah, the one thing I'd say is Nick Martin was playing as the winger. So does it change his role? And if Nick Cox was to come into the side, I actually don't mind him as the sub. If he's a little bit out of form and you're thinking, oh, is he fully recovered? Throw him in as the sub, and if he doesn't play a full game of footy, which you don't as the sub, then that's great.
Nick Martin to half forward, I think I'm going to like that. I think Perkins has shown a bit more polish this year on that forward flank and his ability to kick one or two. And we can't talk enough about how good Martin's finishing's been, how clean his skills are. And I think he's actually, as someone who just loves chasing the footy, that half forward position also gives him that ability to roam kind of back towards half back as well, in that press that we play. So I think putting him there, essentially it just makes him a little bit even more dangerous, closer to the goal on the attack, as opposed to where that wing position would be. So I think the move there to half forward is just going to allow him to use that polish and use those, super handy foot skills to hopefully finish pretty accurately for us. I think that's probably the intention.
Yep.
Dusty, any thoughts?
If Braden Ham plays this week, I am not turning off the podcast next week. Talk about locks. If he plays this week, I'm done for the week. I'm taking a week off. There is no way Braden Ham, like everyone's talking about the big ins this week. We should be talking about the big outs this week. Brandon Ham, the prosciutto, the mortadella, he's out. He is out this week.
I would much rather see a Ben Hobbs get a bit of a run through the interchange, or again, don't want him to see as a sub. Lachie, you talked last week or on Tuesday too about Dev Smith being a preferred sub there. Would that still stand looking at that extended bench?
You know what? I thought he did enough with that half of footy last week to come back into the side.
Yeah, I think that was his best half of footy in a long time. Even Robbo on 360 was comparing it back to his Crichton year. Some of the things that he
That's it, Rich. I like Cox, like you said, Locke, as being the sub. I reckon that could be a good play. Cox as a sub, I rate that.
I think the fact that Ridley is uninjured probably means that BZT probably misses. I think he probably misses on that extended bench. I think you've got, a Cutler who, if worst case plays, it has to play a halfback role, has played anywhere on that halfback to a wing position. And I think you've also got Durham there that could probably float back from that halfback line, and or McGrath, who's been killing on that halfback line. But I would actually see, and I'm interested to know your thoughts, lads. I want to see McGrath go and stand right next to Brayshaw this week. He has been carving sides up. And again, granted, maybe they haven't played great teams, but Brayshaw is having a hell of a year. And I think that having McGrath play that kind of soft tag like he did sort of on Lachie Neale for the first half against the Lions, I don't think that'd be a bad play.
The run with rather than the hard tag, yeah. I think that's a good play.
Yeah, I don't mind it, Benny. I think that we've talked about, we've got depth in our midfield, a few players who can play through there. And if you can shut down one of their best players, then at least attempt it and see how the game's progressing.
Have McGrath and Caldwell maybe interchange on and off him, so you've always got someone a little bit fresher running with him, just trying to niggle at him. Could be a two-man job. Great to see Guelphy finally named on the park, and also my boy Flip. I thought Flip has done a tremendous job the last 2 weeks, particularly last week, playing that number one ruck role. And not that, I think I mentioned on Tuesday seeing him and Peter Wright, aka number two in the Coleman medal, aka Essendon's power forward. Both them playing out of the square. As much as we hate that kind of long bomb inside 50, when you got two of your tallest timbers that are both capable of taking a pretty decent overhead mark and kicking straight, I quite like that tall approach. And Fremantle's tall too. Like they'll come in with Tabernar, with Lobb, with Darcy. Like they've got some big boys. I wouldn't be surprised if having someone like Flip play a bit more of a versatile role and kind of singling some of those guys out as well, which will be interesting to see.
Do you think Baldwin plays then? If they're going in tall, we go in tall as well, and that's why Baldwin's been named.
Yeah, I don't think Baldwin plays. I think Waterman, like we sort of spoke about, I think he and Waters are typically vying off for that same spot, that same role. And I think Waters played his best game last week. I think he kicked 2, probably could have ended up with 4, gave a few away. I think he had about 6 score involvements. Like even the reports coming out of the Bombers and the assistant coaches that kind of took over, the conversation was that Waters was given some very specific things to execute and work on during that game, and he did that to a T. And I thought he played pretty well. So I definitely think he played well enough to hold his spot. It just, when we name an extended bench, it always makes me nervous that someone's got a fitness test coming up that we don't know about, right? Like this is essentially what happened last week when we ended up with Stringer and Stewart both missing, right? Against like last minute kind of outs, that there was a little bit of that floating around that we weren't made aware of. And so when we do it again, it kind of makes me a little bit nervous that maybe someone like a Caldwell is maybe carrying something, and that's why he's been named on the bench, because he's been playing pretty well as well. So he's pretty stiff not to get named on the park. But I do get excited when I see guys like Durham and Guelph stamped on now.
Yeah, I think they definitely deserve their spots after last week's performance. I'm with you. I don't think Baldwin plays if Flip's playing. If we're playing 2 rucks, I don't think we play Baldwin. And at the moment, I think the 2 rucks is playing well for us. Yeah, I'm nervous when we name those extended benches. I'm just so worried about like these injuries. We don't, like you said, we don't know about. Like Stewart getting a calf. There's too many soft tissue injuries. There's niggles, ankles, calves. Yeah, it's worrying.
Yeah, and obviously Stewart's calf too it's obviously a decent one, because this will be week 2 that he's missed.
Yeah, and they're not injuries in game. Like we're talking, like how many like hamstrings and calves are these guys getting in training? Like this is not even full game. Like the amount of injuries we've got in preseason and in training, I've never seen it in the last 10 years of this many injuries in training, not full game.
It is a little bit reminiscent of, it might have been a drug year, like 2014, where we had this like super strong start and then all of a sudden just like soft tissue everywhere. And I think that season just capitulated. There's a little bit of that to it. We talked about how excited we were that the boys were coming back early and doing this extended preseason. We might honestly just be seeing the fallout of too much volume, and kind of, or potentially peaking too early in the season and trying to hold it. I mean that your injury list is your 25th player, right? Like it's the hardest thing to manage and maintain as a football club, but the clubs that do well and the clubs that go far in September tend to be clubs that are quite lucky injury-wise, that they're able to field their best 22 when it comes to the pointy end of the season. And that just hasn't been us, of late. Waller, an interesting not named there too, even on the extended bench. So that makes me think he's probably 1 or 2 away. Stringer's hamstring, like it looks like he's off for another 4 or 5. Like it's not just a tweak or a twinge. It's going to be something pretty serious. Potentially the other good news at the moment, Harry Jones will play some minutes in the VFL this week as well. So that's a good one for us. Although, I think for the first 3 weeks, the idea was probably Peter Wright is just keeping his seat warm down there at full forward, but I think now you're looking at Wright to basically play the number one role and be that player that Hooksy was last year, and taking that lead defender and allowing Jones to continue to develop behind him as that number 2, number 3 target. Yeah, so there's a little bit of good news, but as always, unfortunately, as a Bomber fan, there's a lot of fucking not great news too, which is pretty standard.
Yeah, even when these guys come back in the VFL, like Jonesy playing a couple of minutes here, like, you know, hearing the guys talk about the VFL wrap, like, yeah, Waller's probably still maybe 3 weeks away. Not, you know, he's still he's not playing out a full game.
He's not kicking the ball.
Jonesy's probably a few weeks away. You know, and even when these guys come back to full fitness, like, yeah, Langers and Stewart, they're going to need a couple of weeks in the VFL. We're probably looking like round 10 before we even have close to even a half a team, let alone a full team.
Yeah. So I guess the hope is just the wheels don't fall off before them. But we're talking about the draw a lot to round 10, and it doesn't get any easier. But
mate, I'm worried. You look at the next 5 games, it's like, yeah, you got Bulldogs. I know they're not playing well at the moment, but they can turn it on. We've got Collingwood, which we know it doesn't matter how good we're playing or how good they're playing. It's going to be a tough game. Carlton, you know, there's not many easy games in the next 5 rounds.
I think, honestly, looking across the board at the competition at the moment, there's no real easy beat side. I mean, like, even Port, like, that is so close to being my lock of the week, that they come back and turn it on Carlton and have this side that's been touted as having its best year ever. If they come back and be like Carlton's or Port's number 1 win for the year, I can totally see that happening, you know? And unfortunately for us, it always happens to be like the games against the Bombers that these like shit teams tend to play themselves back into form. You know?
Yeah.
Part of the commentator's curse. But yeah, Easter Sunday. What are the plans, boys? You got Easter plans?
My family selfishly put together a dinner on Easter Sunday. Who puts a game on Easter Sunday at 4:40 when everyone's having dinner? And B, who puts a family dinner on at 4:40 when the Bombers are playing?
This is what happens when you're brought up in a family of Collingwood supporters, mate. They're all watching the game now. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Cluckers, plans?
Family lunch on Sunday as well, but I'll make sure it's wrapped up by the game time.
Let's wrap it up.
Well, I will be, I'm actually live on location now down at Venus Bay. Got the old wheelchair access mobile hired for the weekend. So I got in the back with the luggage.
Venus Bay?
Yeah, down in Venus Bay. So we will be back Monday. So I'll probably watch the game live Sunday. And then if you boys are free on Easter Monday and want to catch up, we can have a little watch through and do
I think we do an extended podcast live. We've been wrapping up the 40-minute Zoom calls. I reckon we do an extended podcast Monday.
Well, we haven't all been in the studio at the same time.
Yeah.
For a very long
Got
time.
a couple of segments up the sleeve.
All right. So there you go. You heard it here first. Extended Easter special.
Yeah.
I love it. Hopefully we've got some good news, or it's going to be a pretty salty extended hour of everyone's time. Speaking of YouTube, boys, I'm not sure if you've been able to upgrade your tickets, but obviously in my wheelchair condition, I won't be going to the Anzac Day game. I'll be watching that one from home. And if you guys are around and want to pop in, I'll be sure to fix up the technical difficulties on the YouTube, and maybe we can try this live stream watch party one more time.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to try to go to the game, Benny.
Live from the seat.
Got a membership.
Yeah, a little sold out.
Not yet. No, I've got a reserve seat.
Lovely.
Oh, fancy membership. I had to pay extra for an Anzac Day ticket. I couldn't afford it.
So, Cluckers, make sure that you're watching our live stream while the game's on, so that you can be giving us a bit of the old group chat.
Special comments from around the ground. Special comments.
And if I don't see everyone sitting around you logging onto the live stream and subscribing to the YouTube channel as well, Cluckers, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. We got to up our ante from the 2 people on the tram on the way home.
A couple of vox pops on the way out.
If it's a home game, you've got exposure to 50,000 potential viewers and listeners there, mate. Don't let the podcast down.
Yeah. Give me a few mugs to hand out.
Yeah. I'll give you a couple of the, we'll make a few flyers with the QR code.
Got the bag right here.
Are they the typo mugs, Russ?
Let's calm down, all right?
Sorry,
This is off. This is offline chat.
not the typo mugs. This is prototype one. So,
Yeah, prototype. All right, it's just a sample.
boys, all right. So mixed feelings with this week's game, but again, even if this is not the year that we break the finals hoodoo, I think what we all want to see is some decent football being played and some resemblance of a game plan coming together and some Guelphy-like effort stepped up from the rest of the team. So if we get that and we do those things and we play like we've been playing offensively and we can tighten up a bit down back and see some of that aggressive running that we see when we go forward, and shut down Brayshaw, it's not asking much, is it? Just those like 5 or 6 key things that we need to fix by this weekend would be great.
Easy.
Easter miracle, boys. If Jesus can rise again after 3 days, so too can the Essendon Football Club rise from 3-1 to 3.
Maybe Stringer will be back.
Maybe
3 weeks early.
Although if anyone was going to go out on a Friday, disappear for 3 days and visit on a Sunday, it's probably. Let's move through. Now, I was reminded, thank you, by a avid podcast listener that we didn't go through the VFLW wrap on Tuesday. So my apologies there. But in my defense, I knew there was some big news coming in and I wanted to save it for Thursday.
Big news.
There's some big news on the VFLW/AFLW front for the Essendon Bombers. In the good news, the one Essendon team that does keep on winning, we smoked Carlton once again, 61-15. And not only did we beat them on the park, but Maddie Pasparkas and Georgia G, which are 2 absolute jets for the Carlton AFLW side, have signed to the Essendon AFLW side starting from next season. And also, we've also signed Bonnie Toogood, who comes across from the Western Bulldogs AFLW list too. So, Russ, you asked very early on if the plan was going to be take a young VFL group and try to mature them, or would we draft in? It looks like we're going hard to recruit. And we're recruiting some pretty decent marquee players for next year as well.
To pick up the best, like the equivalent of the Brownlow medalist in the Women's League last year, to pick up her, like imagine going into next year's round and after just Dusty Martin picking up a Brownlow, like it's pretty mega that we've picked up some elite players already.
It's Gary Ablett Jr. coming across the Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's very much like a new team's coming in. We want them to do quite well, quite quickly. So this is something that probably the AFL is facilitating happening. And interesting as well, the AFLW is very much been Gil McLaughlin's baby and he's stepping down at the end of this year too. So I think very fitting timing that his last year would be the first year of that full AFLW combine competition. So,
and the fact it's starting in August too, it's going to be a little bit different this year. It's not going to be like a little bit of a sideshow at the start of the year over summertime. They're starting in a winter setting, and it's going to be that a little bit different this year.
Tough though, like for VFLW sides that like continue to play VFL long after the AFLW season finishes to then get back to preseason, June, July, it's already April, right? That is not much turnaround at all. When you talk about being a little concerned of like soft tissue and stuff like that we've obviously got a bit of a incidence with at the club.
Well, the women in general, like that was a big concern last season with the Women's League was how many like ACLs were done to elite players. There was a big concern for most of the season that it was alarming how many ACLs and soft tissue injuries they had over last season.
Hard grounds, mate. Hard grounds after, full summer heat, no rain. As someone who's done knees during the summer part of
during one game. Knees through one game, yeah.
Someone who wasn't even able to make it to round 1, let me tell you, it's a big concern. All right. So that's the VFLW update. So some pretty big news there. And I'm keen for next year. Or next season to see how the girls do. I'm excited to get down and try and get down for a Sunday afternoon, couple of sippers. We could just end up being the official AFLW Bombers podcast wrap section.
Hit squad.
Yeah.
Wow, we're doing locks of the week.
Not yet. Footy tip update. Now, Russ,
I had an absolute stinker last week. I had three tips And then every competition I came last.
How have you had to put $20 in the old tin for last week?
I put $20 in every single week, I think.
Now, Russell, I'm not sure if you heard, but if you listened to Tuesday's podcast after you dropped out at the end there, Lachie wanted it very well publicized and known that you have in fact now dropped down underneath him and are now the last ranked panel member for the podcast.
Yep. I've been first for the first couple of weeks, but it's all right.
Well,
I'm glad after 4 rounds you noticed that I was last.
You're only as good as your last round of tipping, mate. So you are currently sitting in, I believe, where are we? Hang on, let me just scroll all the way down. 13th with 20. Lachie sitting even on 20, but sitting a little higher based on margin prediction. And I'm got you boys by 1. I'm sitting at 21. Brodie Harrison is absolutely running away with this competition. It's round 5, and she's 5 tips clear of myself and 6 tips clear of you boys. 2 tips clear of the next place, Woody Wooden Spoon, who I don't know who that is. So whoever that is, you're also doing quite well. But yeah, 5 is a big gap to close, and it's only round 5. So
I know her strategy, Ben. So I'm
following it.
No, I'm not going to follow her because I can't. If I copy her, then I won't be able to beat her.
Yeah, but
you've got Hail Marys at round 6.
Tip the way she tips, other than the locks of the week, except for Russ's lock. That's what you got to do.
I'm going to go on this week.
If she's tipping the same way Russ is, we got her.
First week, I'm below you blokes. Your 4 weeks have been pretty quiet there. 1 week, I'm below you, and you all start chirping up.
It only takes one, mate. It only takes one. All right, Russ, go on then. Give it to us, mate. Who's your lock this week?
VFLW girls to win this week. That's my lock. I'm sticking with it.
Don't put the moz on them, Russ.
Yeah, Russ, don't jinx them like that.
Yeah, I'm doubling down, 40 or nothing.
Would you prefer we made a change to the lock of the week in that I allocate you both a game and you have to choose the winner that way? Or
well, this is the thing. I put a lock of the week. You said it's not. You can't go the favorite. I do a smoky and then I lose. So I'm fucked either way.
How about this? You're not allowed to tip anyone who's under $1.50 favorite.
Ooh.
So it's just who you think might win. That's a sketchy favorite. It's not a lock of the week.
Well, if I'm going to put D's as my lock of the week because I reckon they're going to win probably 19 games.
Yeah. As long as they don't win 21 and 1. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Lachie, you go first then, mate. Who have we got?
All right. Following that rule that we just talked about, makes it tricky. I'll go with Sydney to beat West Coast in Perth.
With that, I'm going to go Richmond to beat Adelaide, but I think that's going to be pretty close. Russ, what have you done to your screen? There you go.
Hold on.
That's better.
I'm just looking at halftime scores. That's no better. I was hoping Lions were up by 50 points. I was going to put them as a lock of the week. I'm running out of money, boys. Not successful business people like you guys.
You'll be right, mate. Just think of it as an investment. It's not an expense. You just invested until grand final day, in which you'll be
Sounds like I'm investing a lot more than you two, though.
Pick better locks, mate. Very season.
I'm going to go. It's a tough one. I'll go Cats to beat Hawks.
Cats v Hawks. Yeah, a safe one.
Oh, there's a few safer.
Lock just made the rule has to be it can't be under $1.50, and the Cats are playing $1.35.
I'll give Russ this week.
I'll go North and I'll go multi. I'll go North to lose and the Cats to win.
The Dogs are paying $1.14. So you're going from like
yeah, it's a multi. Just add them up.
I would not be surprised looking at this round. I could see Adelaide getting up over Richmond. I could see Port getting up over Carlton. Port were paying $5 the other day, and I was like, I chucked $50 on that easy if they were paying that much. They'd come in at $2.30. and pretty even money for the Bombers and Freo, which gives me a little bit of faith, as much as I hate the betting and the gambling side of things. Boys,
we could be picking up some sponsors.
well,
We love gambling here.
Until
If they want to sponsor sports bet, we love gambling.
until we've got HD cameras in our own studio, as sponsored by PointsBet, SportsBet, fucking whatever else. Red Rooster.
That's we don't care who you are.
Dravid's Pizza in Blackburn.
Oh yeah. I'd take a pizza sponsor.
One with the lock extra and Dravid special. What's the order?
The lot, no olives, add anchovies.
Delicious, salty, love it.
Very salty.
Thank you, lads. I think if there's nothing else, anything else, any around the grounds, anything that we've got a sniff of, a whiff of, any big scoops, any other Bombers news, anything else that's past your desks that you'd like to bring to the attention about?
No, I'm keeping for the Super Podcast on Monday.
Keep it for the Super Podcast. How many new segments are we getting? How much?
3, minimum 3.
Are you going to bring back a few of the old ones too? I'm kind of missing what we call it in the end. Not questions without warning.
some questions without notice.
And the Bomber trivia was a class favorite as well. Maybe we'll bring back some of that too.
Could be a very big podcast if we're bringing back a couple of. Maybe I was looking at contracts this week. Maybe Spud or Stiff or Spud might come back.
Stiff or Spud. So if you are joining us for Tuesday, you might need to bring along a 6-pack instead of just the usual single can. Lads,
I'm on holidays next week, boys. We could go all day. Like I'm happy to do a 3-hour podcast.
You know what you could do is set up the logo properly and sort out the TikTok. Maybe do some of that on your.
I've got a whole week. I'll get a whole week.
Don't leave it till the last day. It's not your English homework, Russ.
Probably will happen.
All right, boys. Have a very happy Easter. To everyone listening, you too. Stay safe. Go Bombers. And
Thanks,
we'll catch up on Monday to do our review and record. All right.
Happy Easter. Go Bombers.
All right, guys. Enjoy, Russ. Good luck, mate. Get some water in before you hit the sack.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm on holidays. It's official.
All right. Take it easy, boys.